Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to cover how I stay motivated in that classic phrase, how do you do something even when you don't feel like it? Now, this video is really actually important to me, and I hope it's important to you guys. I hope you take some value from it. And really, it's to give you guys tips on how to redefine motivation, because sometimes I find that people aren't motivated because they don't look at motivation as like the proper term. So reframing your mind and redefining motivation may actually help you to be more motivated and also just more consistent, because the reason that you're asking yourself why you want more motivation is because you want to be more consistent with the thing that you want to be motivated to do. So really, you're asking yourself, how can I be consistent? I'm going to be giving you guys tips on how to create habits to achieve your goals. And also, guys, I'm not perfect. I'm making this video, I'm still learning as I go, and I'm still trying to practice what I preach. So this really helps me to stay accountable to achieve my own goals and to just practice what I'm preaching, because if I put it out there, it holds me more accountable to actually be doing what I say I'm doing. And that helps me to push myself to achieve what I've also set out for myself to achieve. Like, I know you've all heard this before. People say it's not motivation, it's discipline. And honestly, those two are very closely linked. Like, you won't always feel like doing it, but you should anyways. But the big question is, if we all know this, then like, why don't we actually do it? And hence the question and the video created, how do I stay motivated? So like, guys, the ultimate goal is really doing what you said you would do. That's the ultimate goal. And what you're really asking yourself is, how do I stay consistent? That's why you say, how do I stay motivated? How do I keep doing this goal? How do I keep staying on my diet? How do I keep working out? How do I stay motivated? But I heard this from Chris Williamson. I don't think he actually said it, or if he was quoting somebody else. I think he was quoting somebody else. But he said, doing what you do, even when you don't feel like it, is motivation in itself. When you don't want to do something, but you do it, that in and of itself is the motivation. So in other words, in another kind of frame of mind, doing something when you don't feel like doing it, that is motivation. All right. So either doing what you said you would do, or doing something even when you don't feel like it, which sometimes those two go together. And what I want to kind of get across here in this video is that you want to redefine how you look at motivation. So what you're sometimes confusing is that feeling of being amped and excited that you associate being motivated with. So I'm working on getting you guys to reframe what you actually think of motivation as. So don't think of it as being excited or like amped up. Instead, what motivation is you creating like an internal state of pursuing a goal. And what I look at now, and what I recommend you guys look at it now as, is the internal state that you create as you're pursuing the goal is you in the present moment actually doing that goal, actually working on that goal, right? So what you're looking to generate is you literally sitting, let's say if it's you like studying or something like that, what you're trying to create is you studying, because the internal state that is created by you actually doing the work is the motivation, right? Because this is really kind of like tricky to kind of like wrap your mind around. I kind of think, but I'm trying my best to explain it. It's really linked to discipline as well. But what you want to do is basically be consistent at creating the internal state. And now the internal state is how it feels like when you're sitting there working on what you said you wanted to work on, or being consistent with the thing that you said you wanted to be consistent with. So what we're really asking is, how do I stick with doing what I said I would do, as opposed to being flaky? So motivation is basically creating that state, like I said, of sitting down. Let's say, using an example of studying, is actually you sitting down and studying. So how do you stay motivated? How do you continually sit down and study and create the internal state, which is you as you're studying? So how do you do that? So what you're asking basically is, how do you be consistent, which is how do you make something subconscious? How do you make something a habit? Because if something has become habitual, it's subconscious and there's less friction created to do the habit. So it almost feels weird if you don't do the habit as opposed to doing it. You almost feel like something's missing because it's a part of your identity to do this habit. So how do you build the habit? So again, I'm repeating a ton of times, but it's reframing the way that you feel about motivation. So again, the common misconception is you watch motivational video and you get an emotional rise out of it and you think, how can I keep this emotional rise? But really what it is how can you stick with something? Because the truth of it is, like, you're not always going to feel like doing something. So you have to stop looking at motivation as like, how can I continually stay excited about something, and how can I continually stay amped up about something, as opposed to how can I just stick with something? Because sticking with something is creating that internal state of you sitting down and doing that work. So that is motivation. So the first thing that you got to do is redefine the word, and also redefine yourself. So I kind of preach this in a lot of videos that I make, but you really have to have a vision, guys. You need to sit down and you need to think of yourself in the shoes that you want to be. You need to see yourself as a person who is motivated and who is consistent and who can actually achieve the goals that you have set. So you can't just set goals and work towards them, but you actually have to believe that you can achieve them. Because if you get close to achieving a goal and you don't actually see yourself as the person that can have that achievement, you'll kind of push yourself out of it because you feel like you don't deserve it, and you'll let somebody else take it. You can get really close to achieving that goal and you'll let somebody else take it that wants it more and that believes they should have it more, if you don't believe that you can actually get it. So it's a two-part process, and putting in the work is super, super important, because it also reinforces you believing that you can be the person that can have it, because you're showing yourself that through consistent work, you're getting closer to achieving it. And also you're getting mini doses of that achievement, pretty much, because you don't just get something from 0 to 100. It's a process. You kind of get bits and bits and smaller amounts of the end goal. If you're trying to master a subject, you don't just go from one night knowing nothing and then the next night to figuring it out. It's a process. So you get little tastes of achievement along the road of achieving the ultimate end goal. So that reinforces you believing that you can actually be the person that gets there. So the vision is important, and obviously the work's really important as well. Those two, they go hand in hand, and you'll continue to improve your work and continue to be consistent in your work if you believe that you're somebody that can actually achieve what you set out to achieve. So like I said, the thing that we're actually looking at focusing on is actually just how to show up and how to create a habit. So the biggest takeaway, guys, small habits will compound over time. You need to put in a small amount of effort and be consistent with it for a long period of time. And then you need to improve your methods and also learn how to increase your input. So either start out studying 30 minutes a day and increase it to an hour. And obviously I'm using the example of studying. You could really use it with anything you want to achieve any goal that you want. But you need to learn how to put in more time over time. But you don't want to get to the point necessarily where you're just working 24 hours a day. Obviously, there's a certain cap, and maybe you can go through phases where you work a little bit more, and then obviously where you pull back a little bit. But eventually, you'll also learn how to increase your input, not just in increasing your time, but increasing your efficiency by developing systems that take away things that you need to do so that you can focus your attention on other things. But these systems, either other people or technology, are getting it done for you so that you're still getting way more work done in the same amount of time, because now you've delegated work or automated work to get done that you would otherwise have to spend your time on. So you can still increase your input with the same amount of time worked, which should ultimately be the goal, because you don't want to be working 24 hours a day, right? But it all depends on what phase you're in life. And my classic saying, just always coming back to it, it gets worse before it gets better. You're going to be fighting against the fact that you're trying to build a new habit, because again, this motivation thing is really how to show up. It's really just how to create a habit. You're going to be fighting against something new, but you're also going to be fighting against your old self and trying to diminish the old habit of not doing the thing that you want to do. Because if you set out to study, you're in a habitual stance of not studying. So you have to learn how to also eliminate the exact opposite of what you're trying to achieve, which is the bad habit of not studying. And hopefully, some of you guys are in school, so the studying example hits home, because you should be studying. And not even just if you're in school, honestly, you got to stay a student of the game no matter what game you're trying to improve in. So you should be really technically, quote unquote, a student and studying for the rest of your life, because there's so much to learn every subject in life. Anything that you're working on, you can always learn something in anything. So you should always be a student. So bam, there's my lecture. So guys, and you just have to trust the process. Just like Joel Embiid, you got to trust the process. Hashtag. That, eventually things will work out with consistent effort over time. Guys, here are some heavy hitter kind of things to kind of consider, and it can hit home, and I'm really not trying to beat down on you guys, because again, these are things that hold me accountable as well to help me to achieve the things that I want to achieve. But you got to remember that time waits for no one. Time is going to pass whether you are doing what you said you were doing, or what you said you would do, or whether you're not. So it's going to seem like, it's going to take a long time to build this business, but that year, that 2 years, that 5 years, that 10 years eventually will pass. And it's either going to pass with you doing what you said you would do, or whether you made excuses and you didn't do it. But the fact of the matter is you can't go back in time, and you can't work harder. Even if you end up working harder later in life and you achieve your goals later in life, you can't go back and had achieved it sooner and had have worked harder and overcome something sooner. You got to get real serious with your life, guys, and you got to really appreciate time for what it is. That time waits for no one, and you cannot get time back. So you need to have goals, guys. I've heard this from Dan Coe. Otherwise, other people will give you goals to work on. Work on your own. It doesn't mean everybody has to be an entrepreneur, but if you want to be an entrepreneur, then you should try. But if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful in some certain field that you want to work towards and climb the ladder, then by all means, work towards climbing the ladder in the area that you want to improve in. Not everybody should be doing the same thing, but you have to work on the goals that you set. And there can be goals that people kind of give you in a sense too, but if it's not your goal and deep down you don't want to be doing it, then you should also be working on something after you're done your 9 to 5, because you got to work on your own goals. Otherwise, you're just going to spend the rest of your life working on goals that other people give you. And this can be applied in business. This can be applied in a physical sense. This can be applied in your physical health. If you don't take care of your health, then eventually a doctor will give you goals to work towards, certain weight loss goals, certain blood work, marker improvements, taking your medications. They'll give you goals. They'll give you time frames of when to take your medication. They'll create a whole routine for you guys, and that will be the thing that you pursue because you didn't take care of your health. Not everything is in our control, but for the things that are in your control, you should be working towards it and create your own goals and be proactive. And again, some more heavy hitters. You either did it or you didn't. You either tried or you didn't. You either improved or you didn't. And you can't get time back to overcome something that you wish you would have when you were younger. But it's never too late. So if you're hearing this now and you're a little bit older and you feel like you're behind and you didn't overcome this thing that you could have when you were younger, and either you've overcome it or you have yet to overcome it, just keep in mind your life is not over. It's never too late to beat something and to be the best version of yourself. And even if you failed in the past, you learn from your mistakes, and it's not considered failure unless you give up. So it's not a failure if you made mistakes. It's only a failure if you quit and you choose to not continue to try to overcome this thing. And this can be for just being lazy. This can be like a full-blown addiction, just anything that you want to get better at, really. So guys, just gonna kind of go through this. So basically, if you do something when you don't want to, then you're showcasing the motivation, because again, motivation is creating the internal state of that goal, which is you sitting down and doing that goal. So you're showing that you're able to create the internal state by just doing it. So that in and of itself is actual motivation. So if you set a goal to get in better shape, then your goal is to create the internal state of being in the gym and working out. So if you don't feel like working out, but then you go and work out in the gym, then you are displaying motivation and working towards your goal of becoming jacked. You're not looking at motivation as you went to the gym because you were feeling amped up and you had no question in your mind whether or not you wanted to go, because you won't always want to go. But if you go anyways, you are motivated. You won't always be in the mood. You won't always feel excited. You won't always feel amped up. You're going to have bad days, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't succeed in what you set out to do. So you're looking at it in terms of creating a habit. Just remember, if you look back in a year, you won't remember your excuses, nor will anybody else, nor will they care, nor will you care. But you're just going to look back and know if you did what you said you would or if you didn't. So you need to take a step back in life and honestly just be honest with yourself and just see things in this world for the way that they are. Don't lie to yourself. Don't make excuses. Because just because you create an excuse doesn't mean that it's actually true. You need to just be honest with yourself and live in a world that is real, live in reality, and either just understand that you're working towards something that you said you would or you're not. Whether or not you have excuses, guys, that's not really the point. And obviously I'm vaguely saying this because it really depends on your situation, but there's a lot of things that we slack on that we do have control over that we could be better at and we choose not to be better at, and that includes myself. But you just gotta live in a world of reality. A lot of us like to lie to ourselves, including me in the past, and even sometimes now. So again, this is a video that holds me accountable as well, and that's why I'm making it, because I want to improve. But you gotta not lie to yourself. If you know you could have worked harder and you could have achieved something and you didn't, and it was all your fault, then you gotta take accountability for that and try to get better. Don't lie to yourself. See things in this world for the way that they are, and just live in reality. Like, a lot of people don't want to live in reality, but whether or not you believe in gravity or not, like, gravity is going to apply to you. So with your excuses, just get rid of them and just work towards your goals. All right, so just kind of linking it all together, guys, motivation is similar to discipline. So like I said, it's creating a habit. It's the internal state that you're looking for, which is you actually working on that goal. And that is the displaying of motivation, not feeling excited, not feeling amped up. Although you will feel amped up and excited before pursuing the internal state of pursuing the goal. And you're going to feel it probably after you finish working, because you're never going to regret working hard on your goals. You're going to regret not working hard on your goals. So even if you show up and you don't feel like doing it, you're going to get probably amped up and excited as you're doing it, and especially after, knowing that you feel happy that you actually stayed consistent and worked on the thing that you said you wanted to work on. So you do get that excited, amped feeling, like I said, probably eventually at some point, and definitely sometimes you will be amped to do your goal before you set out to do it. But you shouldn't depend on that as the thing that makes you pursue what you said you wanted to do. So again, guys, another way to kind of look at this is being motivated is starting to do the work. So if you said you wanted to study, showing up to the desk and starting to study is motivation. And then you need to continue working hard, which is discipline. So think of motivation as starting the work, not necessarily just once and for all, but it's every time you're initiating working on your goals. So that could be not just sitting down one time and thinking I'm going to study and then the rest of it's discipline per se, but every time you come to sit down, the act of you getting up and leaving whatever you're doing to then go and study is motivating to initiate it. And discipline is being basically obeying what you said you would do. So it's very linked to motivation, but it's basically like the continuation of motivation. So when you continue to do the work that you said you would do, so you got to get your butt off the couch, sit down at the desk and start studying, that you just displayed motivation. And again, the video is how do you stay motivated? It's learning how to create a habit and sticking with what you said you would do and being consistent. And just by getting up and sitting at the desk and opening your book and starting to study, you're showing motivation. And then as you continue to work, you're showing discipline. And those two interlink together with each other forever, as far as every time you sit down to study and continue to study day after day, month after month, year after year, and continue to get better at whatever you set out to do. So that could be a way that you look at it, guys. So If this video helped you guys out, shoot a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for more videos like these where I kind of break down random topics. If there's something that you'd like me to talk about, or you want to like hear what my opinion is on a certain topic or something about what I covered in this video, feel free to leave a comment, and I'd be more than happy to respond and also to make videos on topics that you guys are interested in. And follow my short series, Eating for Fat Loss, and a bunch of other videos that I make. Just keep an eye out for those. Keep a lookout for whatever I produce. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. See ya.